You're live now.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Don Fredrickson, and this is a program on New Thought and World Religion from Unity of Springfield. Our topic this morning is concerning the limitations of words. And I just decided to change the title from Words Don't Teach and put a subtitle into it, but they do have other functions. It may sound strange coming from someone who has devoted his life to poetry, to be disparaging about words, but it's something that it faces all of us, no matter what we do in life. We all have to use words, in spite of their shortcomings. To give you an idea of what our situation is today, I have Surprise, a poem. And it goes like this. Words do not exactly teach. They at best give information to be interpreted and synthesized into useful combinations. Though used in schools as a rule, they never span the breach. They merely serve as symbols toward things they cannot reach. We're merely taught to regurgitate what the teacher said long enough to take the test or remember what we've read. We remember only 3% of what we've heard said. Then memory gets misty. Useful bits slip from our heads. So we take notes in desperate hopes that something can be retained and discard them at semester's end with very little gain. People learn by experience through sight, sound, and touch, intimate intimate engagement with what they love so much. Perhaps in another time and space, we will remember how it felt when we were just children, and our favorite word was wow or awesome. Letting imagination fly, pretending that it's so, insisting and persisting, letting variations flow. Imagination is the key to all inventions. Children carry it in their pockets. And when the adults remembered, well, that's how we got our rockets. They set them off in fields, sending them ever higher. Sometimes they work, sometimes not. Experience set on fire. Einstein once appeared to agree. Imagination is the key. Even over intellect, experience was his guarantee. Anyway, that's the way things look from here, or how we manage our work. And this is not the only problem. We have the one that really concerns us in churches is how Scripture is managed. And over history, I'll read you a little passage here in a minute. But first, I'd like for you just to relax and have a little visualization. You're sitting home in your favorite chair, very comfortable, and you're waiting. You've been thinking about this scripture that somebody has recommended to you, and you've been meditating for about 20 minutes now, and you're calm, and you're receptive, and you're eager to be impressed by the content of the scripture. And this is the way it goes. Father, Mother of the cosmos, Father, Mother of the cosmos, shimmering light of all, focus your light within us as we breathe your holy breath. Enter the sanctuary of our hearts, uniting within us the sacred rays of your power and beauty. Let your heart's desire unite heaven and earth through our sacred union. Help us fulfill our lives within the circle of our lives today. Forgive us the fears we choose. To forgive the other as we forgive those who, forgive us our fears as we choose to forgive the secret fears of others. Let us not fall into forgetfulness, for from your astonishing fire comes the eternal song, which sanctifies all, renewed eternally in our lives and throughout all creation, committed in trust and faith. Amen. Does anybody recognize that? What is it?
I said I recognize it. Oh, I recognize it.
Can you tell us more about it?
Mainly that I just had it on my bathroom wall for several years.
Have you?
But a friend gave it to me. Is it? Well, yeah, it's Aramaic, and it's is it? I thought it was from something the Masters.
It's from Matthew.
Well, I was thinking, but the Masters. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's the Lord's Prayer. The Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer.
Exactly.
Well, I knew that. Sorry, I just didn't know where it came from.
But would you believe it? Would anybody believe that offhand that was the Lord's Prayer? It's amazing. And at the same time, other people of the same time in the same era, among the Coptics, there's another version of it. O birther, father, mother of all that moves in light, focus your light within us. Make it useful as the rays of a beacon shows the way. And there's nothing in common. Both of those come from the same source. And that's in Matthew, one is in Matthew, the other is in Luke. And they're both versions of what we today know as the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Is it any wonder that it got to us in this form? Excuse me. Because it was subsequently translated into Greek, into Latin, into English, and each time it got fuzzier and fuzzier, and finally it arrived to us in a totally different message. Now this isn't, go ahead.
So even in an individual's life, the meaning of certain things, if I were writing down scripture to explain what was going on from different times in my life, there's a time in my life if I had been writing that, or translating it or writing it, I would have said, God, this being in the sky that is terror and hurts everybody, and you have to please, please don't hurt us. And then there's, now if I were to do it, I would, it would be God, this amazing, wonderful principle and power that lives in all of us, how beautiful it is. So, those words would have been a whole different being just from a different part of my life.
Exactly my point is that over history, in every society, you have different idioms, you have different definitions of words, you have different modes of expression, and they have to be fitted into somebody else's expressions. And sometimes the words don't even translate. There are languages in which some words do not exist. And so we're caught in this problem of how do we reinterpret something from a different time, a different setting, a different culture, a different language, into what is today we would consider modern and up to date. It's a problem. It's one of the shortcomings of the use of words. We're locked into it. We know we have to use it because that's the way we communicate. So none of these.
It's one of the ways we communicate.
Sure. Yes, it's one of the ways. None of these translators set out to change anything. I'm sure they were all quite eager to capture the thought of the previous writer. I'm sure that's true. And each time they do it, there creeps in, inevitably, some difference. And each time it's translated or transliterated, it has to lose something. So when we think about some of the opinions of some of the Christians now today, they insist that these words are sacred. You mustn't mess with the scripture. You mustn't. Everything has to be word for word, perfect. This is not a very defensible position to take. What words are you going to hallow? The words of the Greeks, the words in Latin, or our words, or the words of the Spirit? Yes.
So I guess the more that I get into metaphysics and get into understanding these things, in just what you're saying right here, I can't know what another spiritual organization, the meaning that is there for me. What I might look at and I see it and I would go, I don't believe that. But how do I know I don't believe that? Because, like you said, words aren't the thing that is going to convey what's there. And before when we lived in Joplin at the last time, we actually went to a mainline Christian church, because in that church, the experience was there that we weren't finding in a more metaphysical church at that time. And when they did their hellfire and brimstone thing, we just took a thought and kept it in our head. But all of the energy was an energy of what we believed. And so, yeah, we don't know with another organization how that is affecting their members, even though it's not our truth right now, or the words don't speak to us.
That's very true. So as readers of scriptures today, it's up to us to use our intuition, our imagination. We're the only animal on the earth with this gift. The idea of being able to take something that you cannot see, touch, or smell, or taste, and deal with it. You can't ask your cat to do that. My wife disagrees with me.
I think I do too, Don.
I think the cat's already got it in hand.
They've got other things in there.
All you have to do is go, you got a plan? And she knows that's up on the table, looking for the drawer where her toys are. And when you open the drawer, you go, show me. If you say any other word, if you go, show me, she'll look at her toys, and then she goes. She knows those words.
It's all quite physical. It's all quite physical.
Well, I think that beyond the cat, that we don't know what they're thinking and
No,
doing
no,
and being. And they're being, like a bird that flies off and makes a nest. She knows she's going to lay some eggs, and she wants to find a boyfriend to lay them with.
That's right.
I don't know. We don't know what they're doing. We're just guessing.
Yeah, that's true. They do have methods of communication. They're not words, are they? We can memorize ours, but they can't use it for themselves. Okay.
We're not going to make it easy on you.
I know. Now, but what I mean by imagination, when we use our imagination, I don't mean something we make up. If we want to write a story, we use our imagination and we make up a story. This is not a matter of that. This is a matter of realization, of realizing what really is being said, what is being expressed is a principle that only a human being can recognize. Okay. So we have to say to ourselves as we read, what was the intent? What was the intent of this book? What were they trying to tell me? Because that's the only contact, that's the only connection we have with them. We can say, were they godly? Were they trying to reject what they realized is holy? They certainly weren't trying to destroy it. They were trying to tell us about God as they saw it. Well, we've come a ways from that. Even today, or in the 20s, there was a man named Neville. He had this idea quite well in hand. he said that it's not the story itself and the people in the story, or what they did, or anything else. It's the principle that was important. What was trying to be, what was trying to be said, and it wasn't just with religious things, but no matter who you talk to, whether they're talking physically, mentally, psychologically, metaphysically, any sort of attempt to communicate, they all agree that when you're talking about the inanimate, when you're talking about the subjective world, the whole thing hinges on imagination. Everybody seems to agree. Even Blake. Everybody know about Blake?
Well, I have a question, because as I listen, and when, with physics evolving and such, how would you define subjective world versus what?
Okay, the unseen versus the seen. The kindness. Kindness doesn't have any volume or weight or mass, and that sort of thing is what I'm talking about. In other words, does anybody know that? I mean, everybody recognized that Blake was probably one of the best poets of all time. And these are his words. Man is all imagination. God is in man and exists in him, and exists in us, and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination of God himself. Can you imagine that? That's taking that principle and to its absolute limit. That's where creation is focused. It's in imagination. God's imagination. And that's us. Okay. I've already gone over I'll just quote Neville, agreeing with it. The world, in quotes, the world originates in divine activity, identical with what we know ourselves as the activity of imagination. And this text being, in quote again, to open the immortal eyes of man inward to the world of thought, into eternity, ever expanding into the bosom of God, human imagination. Yes.
You talked about the intention of the writer, but my experience in this life is that the most important thing in anything that I read is the intention of me, the reader. And I have read spiritual books from different religions where it said, read with a prayerful heart, wanting to know the truth here, wanting to understand it. And sometimes I've literally have visions of what I'm reading and the truth in that. I've also read spiritual things like the Bible at one time, reading it from a viewpoint that everything is awful and everything is bad. And all the stories were like awful stories. But as I've studied metaphysics, I go back and I read the stories in the Bible, like the stories of Job. That was like a horrible God making bets with the devil and hurting the people that he loved the most and that were trying to do their best. And then with my intention changing and my outlook changing, It's about this amazing man that kind of strayed off the path of creation, and his life kind of got bound up in a lot of, he was attracting a lot of things he didn't want. But the way he got out of it was not to listen to all what was going on in the world, but just to go, oh, no, there's only good, there's only God. And so my intention changed. The whole story is different because my intention and my imagination, I guess you could say, going into it changed.
The way you were looking at it changed, didn't it? I've been there too. I've had that same issue. Does anybody else have something they want to add?
Well, I just was, I'm really curious as to how we can use imagination practically.
Okay. We have to face the idea, as foreign as it might be to some of us, that we are eternal. And in that sense, infinite. We have our access in our higher self to everything. We have access. We know what God knows in our higher self. Okay. And so all we have to do is to realize this truth. We have to keep looking for it from the vantage point we have here in our three dimensions. We have to realize that the real world itself is infinite, and that we're looking for that. That's what it feels like to me. Does that answer what you're talking about or not?
Well, we're talking about language.
Yeah.
And words.
And it's a limitation. Yes.
And in different languages, and then the connection between how does imagination come in to dealing with the complexities and confusion of language.
Okay. It's as far as I can tell, it's I've got a quote here someplace, that the most, I was saving it for the end, but we'll take it here. The most noble function of the use of words is to inspire both of them. Is to inspire both intuition and imagination to combine forces towards a revelation of the truth, love, and forgiveness in the souls of humans. So that it's not in the words we say. We can say any word we want, and it can be used in any way. But the way we combine them depends on how it makes us feel. If it makes us, if it's something that elevates us, that is the use that we put to words when we want to be constructive. When we want the words to serve us rather than being a chain which we have to drag around with as the only means of communication. We can say pass the salt, and we're using words, but these are not words that elevate people. These are not words that make people feel loved or make people feel valued. These are mundane words, and they mean something different to everyone. But to tell someone you love them, to tell someone that you appreciate them, this is the noble function of words. You don't get anything else from what comes from this talk. This is the gist of it, and you were seeing ahead farther than I was ready to go.
Can I insert something here, Doc?
By bringing up the essence of this story, yes.
I was just gonna say, when you were talking about imagination earlier, you used the word realize a few times, and I've been journaling with that word realize because it's your real eyes. You know, you're looking at almost the space between words, the pause of accepting the word or how the word is used, or even the tone of how, if somebody's saying the word. But it's just in that pause of listening is to me where imagination comes from.
That's it. Between your thoughts.
Mm.
That's what happens. That's where it happens. Not in the words themselves, but what happens between those words is where the ideas are, and then that's where we put them to work.
Sometimes we can only use language, and even what we mean doesn't get put there. So I can say, right now as we're sitting here, my oldest, sweet, wonderful, love sister is in the midst of her transition into the celebration of life. Now, if I say that to somebody, you know, if I say she's dying as we speak, but she's transitioning into the celebration of life. There is a party being created right now that is amazing. And her family on this side are, you know, her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, they're all congregated on this side. So when I put her on the prayer list, what I really wanted to say that's in my heart is, I'm inviting all of the people here to join in the thought, imagination, celebration of life of my sister moving into the next phase. But a lot of people, because they're at a certain point with that, are just going to hear, oh, that poor Wendy, her sister's dying. And that's what we try to get across, this way of thinking that isn't bringing us into misery, but that is such a beautiful gift, this life.
And this is the elevation of the use of words, the bringing people up and making the world a brighter place, and a more hopeful place, and a more uplifting influence in the world. That's the use of the words, in spite of their weakness, the misinterpretation, the changing of time, over time, words change and they begin to. We use the word gay today a lot differently than when I was a boy. It was happiness when I was a boy. Today, it's homosexuality.
Or it's also being somewhat off socially is another. I mean, there's lots of different.
Yeah, different connotations to it.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say, Don, is that the imagination is something that is not privy to just one group of people. The guys who robbed the Louvre, the museum in France, had to plan that through a very great amount of imagination on what they were going to do and how they were going to do it.
And we can misuse any gift.
Well, it's not even misuse. It's just they used it selfishly.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not, it's not that imagination is ever limited to anyone.
That's right.
We all have it, and we have to determine what makes my soul complete.
How do you?
And so it's always an individual thing, each person, and what they do. So.
Exactly.
I also think that something like a theft in the Louvre speaks to the impermanence of everything, of works of beauty, of art, of the crown jewels that they have there, and so on and so forth. And it's I'm not condoning that kind of an act, but it also does kind of point to, well, it's not going to last forever.
No. And if you look at it one way, the beauty's still there, even if the thing is stolen. The beauty, the value that we place on it is still there. The subjective thing, that's where the reality is in the subjective world. And that's what elevates us. And that's what makes us different from the rest of creation that we know about, is that our ability to relate to that subjectivity. Somebody else that, okay. I'm not quite sure where I am now because we've jumped ahead.
I worked your son.
Sorry. So here we are. We're a little ahead of the schedule, but here we are in the sea of word symbols that we're privileged to assemble in any manner we choose. And we do so according to our view of the world, and we sometimes we even fight over it. We think that ours is the best. What we sometimes forget is that yes.
So one of the important things for me in listening to something like this and understanding from this point of view is those of us who are practicing a different way of thinking and choosing, this church has denials and affirmations and all of that. And there's some beautiful, beautiful stuff written. But, for the most part, all that beautiful stuff that's written is just kind of like blah, 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 blah to me.
It's not yours.
But when I use this power of words and use the power of my own subjective ability to imagine and create, and then I come up with a denial or an affirmation that works for me, it works for me. But all the blah, 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 it's pretty, but it doesn't work for me. And so when you want to understand that, you are the master of the words that you choose, and let them, they don't have to be what anybody else would think is even high and good. If it works for you.
It can't work for me.
Right.
So that was my very next point, that everyone has a point of view. There are 8 billion people in the world. So there are 8 billion points of view. You can't agree with everybody. You have to agree with yourself.
You can't even imagine that.
That's right. and so that it points out the fallacy of insisting upon your point of view. It's right, that's exactly where you're supposed to be at this moment in your life. Abraham tells us that we were, our whole life is focused upon our being here at this time, this place, because this is perfect for you. Because of what's happened to you, because of all your past. This is the only place you could possibly be. Isn't that wonderful? That you're right on schedule, that you're right on time, that you're in the right place, doing the right thing, because this is what you need. This is what I need. So what we are concerned with here is a connection with the aspects of life concerning what transcends the physical experience, learning what is beyond the words, learning what is intended there are treasures to be had in spending your time bathing in the silence, acknowledging the connection with Source. As human beings, we are hardwired to appreciate divinity. Isn't that nice? Hardwired. We have a whole half of our brain, the right side of our brain, is dedicated to this, to the subjective world. The left side is that's the salt kind, you know, the how do you do? Have a good day. This kind of memorized stuff and analytical stuff that we find so necessary in operating in this milieu. All right. You'll remember this, that it is not merely memorizing words of doctrine, but the quiet experience of prayer, contemplation, and openness that we find is the portal of a beautiful, expanded world of spirit. That's where the whole purpose of our ability to communicate verbally is. So here we are at the, in a sea of information symbols, and we're privileged, and we are privileged to assemble them any way we choose. But Jesus recommends that we consider the kingdom of God. What contributes to the kingdom? He gives us all kinds of tools. He suggests loving kindness, gentleness, peace, truth, joy, many more. And these are the subjects of focus. If we focus in these areas, these are the areas where we excel. If we focus on physics, that's where we excel. If we focus on robbing people, that's where we excel. So it's up to us. Our true self, or our God self, knows when this happens. And we feel wonderful. Believe me, we all have a God self. That's the God I pray to. When our daily thoughts, our experiences, and experiences agree with this divine self that we all have, life is wonderful, expansive, and inspired. And so I thank you for your giving me the opportunity to bring these things to you, even if I had to do it with words. Yeah.
We still have a few minutes, so I was just wondering what kind of things work for different people. Because it never hurts for me to hear what works for someone else, because that might be what works for me. That's the purpose in sharing and stuff like that. I wondered, what are some of the things that work for other people? What that are here?
Might be a good place to go from here. Anybody got any suggestions?
Well, I also had another, I wanted to go back. Earlier in the talk, you used the word intuition as being something that was important. And so I looked up the definition, and it's a way of understanding without conscious thought.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and language is, our use of language is often heavy on the conscious thought part, both expressive as well as understanding when we're in that part of our brain. And I just thought that was really interesting, and I've had a lot of experiences where I was listening to somebody say things, and the face value of the words weren't telling the story,
Right.
but I was receiving information accurately, because I found out after sharing that with the person that, oh yeah, that's your. How did you know that? And I go, I don't know. I just felt it, and it wasn't something that I can like describe because it's beyond the words parts. It's more of an emotional knowing.
Yeah, this is the divine part of you that works.
And I guess to me, I think sometimes we need to spend a certain amount of time honing our intuitive skills, if that's not something that just comes naturally to us.
Yeah. I have a poem here I'd like to read to you. It's about the future.
Who wrote it?
I did. It's called Beyond Present Imagination. It would not be surprising to learn there remains in the souls of men, buried deep in the secret key, gifts beyond our. But we have come in a few thousand years from thoughts of mere survival to contemplating eternity and dreams of deep space travel. The mind staggers with contemplation of the what future holds in store in exponential advancements through several millennia more. And as we smile at the science of 1,000 years ago, our current grand intentions might a chuckle or two also. They'll be answering amazing questions we've not yet thought to ask. We can't imagine their challenges or the loftiness of their task. With advanced resources, wisdom beyond our present best, they'll be incredible, super people equipped to bless their quest. Thank you.
Hey Don, I have a poem for you. You
All
get
right.
it? Roses are red, violets are
wait.
blue, honey is sweet, but not as sweet as you.
I didn't hear that.
I kind of want to go back to this intuition thing.
We still have to.
I have like the awareness of awareness is, it's almost like it's a deep hole that, there's no words to explain it. It's something that you know. You just know it.
That's exactly what you have.
It's such a wonderful thing to be able to try to get all the dirt out of the way. So I agree with John is that, what gets between me and my intuition is all of the crap that I want to put there. I'm finding a new, different way to kind of get into feeling, because I believe it's in feeling that we know. And then the word know is just so much more precious than belief, because belief is not Anyway, that's,
And the other part, though, is this whole idea of imagination. So I think imagination and intuition are both amazing, and the imagination does emanate from the cognitive mind, and so has language as a part of its way of expressing. It's mind blowing, and how to fuse that with one not crowding out or making the other less.
I have the idea that there's only one mind, and we participate in it.
I agree.
Well, one thing I guess the intuition I think is always playing out, because I think Source is always listening to our hearts and listening to what we want, and placing there before us the things, the path of least resistance toward those goals. And the only part in that is the listening part of it is to be able to then recognize where that comes from. But even if you don't, there's amazing things. So I'm at home and I get this hit that I need to go out and walk in the mountains, and I take my dog, and she's old and almost blind, and we go out and it said I would be given a gift. So I'm walking up there, and this big black bird lands right in front of me and drops this ordinary little rock on the ground in front of me. And it's amazing because my dog would chase a bird, that she doesn't. But I'm sitting there going, this is it, a rock? I mean, this bird comes out of the sky and, all that. But then about 2 weeks after that, I'm visiting my friend in Salt Lake City, someone who is not into any of this stuff. And I'm sitting there, and her brother comes to the door. I really don't even know her brother, hardly at all. And he comes to the door and he goes, I'm going to a vision quest this weekend, and I'm being told, which is intuition, that you need to come to it. Normally, you have to go through all this stuff even to come to a vision quest, but you need to come. He said, but the one most important thing is that we need to make you a medicine pouch, and Spirit has to have gifted you with the stone for the medicine pouch. And it was like, I kept that in my drawer. But before I left the house, it was like, oh, I don't know why, but I need to take this stone with me, because we went the next day. It was the next day. So I guess that's part of it, is when you get those hits, even if you don't know why, you just do what it says and go, okay, I don't get it, but I'm just going to put the stone in my purse.
Or do you normally take a left turn, and today you take the right turn?
Yeah.
It's just something tells you to do it,
And you listen.
because that's a gift. All we have to do is realize it.
It can get a lot closer to home than a bird in the woods. This morning I got up and I was out of it, just and couldn't get awake and ready to go or anything. And then I kept looking at the clock, and I was like, I don't have enough time. Well, maybe if I have enough time, I'll lie down for a little while. So I lied down for a little while. And then I got up and did my exercises, only 3/4 of them, because there wouldn't have been time to do them all. and I said, well, I really want to go see Don's class. If you really want to go see Don's class, what are you going to do about it, Susan? Well, you don't have time to eat breakfast. Oh, I know. I'll just make it to go while I'm brushing my teeth. And boom, here I am. And God provided. Intuition provided.
I'm glad you decided to. I wonder if I could impose upon John to read the announcements. I don't think I'm very good at that.
had a week of practice. Yeah. Okay. All are welcome to join us for meditation every Sunday at 6 p.m. Come as you are and take a moment to quiet your mind, nourish your spirit, and connect with your inner peace. As a group, if anybody has not been involved in group meditation, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience. Our board of directors meets every month on the fourth Monday at 6 p.m. The next meeting is tomorrow evening, and all are welcome to attend. The Navigating Grief Support Group meets on the second and fourth Tuesdays each month at 6 p.m. So the next meeting is this Tuesday, November 25th, right here. Anyone experiencing any type of grief is welcome to attend. Everyone is invited to our annual Friendsgiving potluck on this Thursday at 1 p.m. Please sign up at the connection table with what dish you will bring to share and indicate if you can come early to set up or stay after and help clean up. Feel free to bring a friend, your whole family, or just yourself. Everyone is welcome at our table. For our celebration service next Sunday at 11 a.m., our very own Paul Day will be our guest speaker. Paul has dedicated his life to education, service, and spiritual growth. He holds a BS in multicultural education and MS in education administration. He's been a public school teacher, business owner, and textbook broker. He's been a member of Unity of Springfield since 2003 and wears many volunteer hats, including adult education facilitator. Join Amy Burnett next Sunday at 9:15 for our New Thought adult education class. You can attend in person or watch live on our Facebook page. It's time to deck the halls. Next Sunday, right after service, we'll be decorating the sanctuary and common areas for the holidays. Your helping hands and the holiday spirit will be very appreciated. If you would like a 2026 Unity Village calendar, please sign up at the connection table before December 1st, or if you'd like the Unity Advent booklet, there are some on the connection table in the foyer. Suggested love offering for each is $1. The Glide Car Wash and Shine Yoga Studio are two businesses that have been doing special food drives and donating food to our pantry. If you visit either of these businesses, please thank them on our behalf for all of us and for all that who use our pantry.
What are the names again? You just said.
It is the Glide Car Wash and Shine Yoga Studio. Our shelter has been open 3 nights so far, and it's looking like we'll be open later this week. If you would like to help in any capacity and don't know where to start, please see Lisa after the service or email shelter@unityofspringfield.org. And we are 1 week into our HVAC donation challenge. We have donors who will match up to $5,000 collected towards the new Youth Wing HVAC system. Stop by the table just outside the sanctuary doors to see how much we've collected so far. This challenge runs until the end of January. Save the date for our annual candlelight service on Friday, December 19th at 7 p.m.
All right, thank
That's
you.
it.